Hello, Evgeny. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we talk about the earthquake in Japan, whether it was possible to avoid such a death toll and what's ahead. I understand you've made some controversial predictions in terms of future earthquakes. What exactly are they? What are they based on?
I think that there is no direct connection between the earthquake in Japan and earthquakes that could happen on our territory. But this latest one is one of the major events in the chain of earthquakes that recently happened on the planet. You all remember the earthquake on Sumatra in 2004. It was a major quake, magnitude 9.5. It was huge. A major loss of life, tsunami, etc. Then there were a number of other earthquakes in India, where people also died, in China with a magnitude of 8, and finally in Chile last year, 8.8. And now this earthquake in Japan with a magnitude unheard of before in this country, 9. As you can see, the process is taking place in different places on Earth. What does our country look like in this respect? In the last 15 years or so, we've had about 15 major earthquakes in our Far East, so almost every year there was an earthquake. On the Kuril Islands, on Kamchatka, Sakhalin, in Koryago Krug. So we had never seen such frequency before. Therefore, we can say that we've witnessed a significant increase in seismic activity on Earth in the last 15 years. In the previous years, at least in the 1970s and 1980s, there had not been so many major earthquakes. There was a calm period. The dangerous spots in our country are Kamchatka. Many experts have been predicting earthquakes in its southern parts for a long time. And the northern Kuril Islands. Maybe the southern Kuril Islands now, considering the earthquake in Japan, because seismic activity can spread there. I also think that the North Caucasus is a very dangerous zone, because there haven't been any major earthquakes there for a very long time. There was a minor earthquake in 2008 in the Kurchalyosk region, but nothing serious in a really long time. So these, I think, are the most dangerous zones in Russia: Kamchatka, the Kuril Islands, and the North Caucasus.
Are we witnessing an overall increase in seismic activity, or is this just a volatile period? When did it start and when could it be over?
I believe this period, like all processes on Earth, is of cyclical development. If we mention the middle of the 20th century, it was also a period of more activity, with the great earthquake in Chile in 1960, with a magnitude of more than 9. Then a great quake in the North Kurils and southern Kamchatka, when the tsunami wave reached 25 meters and the whole settlement of Kurilsk was destroyed. Later in the 1970s and 1980s, it was relatively calm. But already in the 1990s, the seismic activity grew again. We see that 20 to 25 years of relative calmness is followed by a more active period. I believe we are living in a more active period now, to last about 10 years more. But I could not call such assumptions fully based on science.
You're saying that both you and your colleagues abroad predicted the earthquake in Japan. Why weren't enough people evacuated then?
A forecast has many parameters. Most important is analysis of seismic activity. Some quakes are constantly recorded and monitored. The information is catalogued. Anomalies like excessive calmness or excessive activity are analysed. Further data is used about the deformation of the lithosphere, thermal and electromagnetic fields. When you have many parameters coinciding, you can announce the forecast. One parameter alone is not enough to predict anything. Several negative factors coincided. First, the Japanese are perhaps best equipped in the world against earthquakes, as they are living on a continuous seismic hotbed. They predicted an earthquake, but nobody expected a magnitude 9, which is unique. Normally magnitude 8 is forecast. The difference between 8 and 9 is a logarithmic scale. Each digit increment means a 10-time increase of energy. So, nature played a mean joke with them. Before the 11th March quake, a quake on the 9th of March in the same zone was considerably weaker, only 7.7, which is still big. But they decided the forecast had been fulfilled and they relaxed. A much stronger quake occurred soon afterwards. The tsunami was indeed predicted, but its epicenter was rather close to the shoreline, only 120 kilometers away, whereas the tsunami wave traveled at 400 or even 600 or 800 kilometers an hour. So it obviously reached the shore in 10 minutes. Most of the victims resulted not from the earthquake-destroying buildings, but from the tsunamis, because the latter were both unexpected and very high. Besides, they hit places that were very vulnerable.
What about Russia's Far East? More earthquakes there? What should be done to reduce the number of casualties in affected areas?
To where are residents of Russia's far eastern areas supposed to be evacuated? To Moscow? Nobody has left. People will remain living there regardless of earthquakes. This option has long been refuted. Moreover, we don't know the timing exactly. We know only some probabilities, and we don't know what its magnitude will be. Petropavlovsk is being reinforced now as part of a special program. Also, our territory, unlike in Japan, is not so densely populated or urbanized. No matter how odd it may sound, earthquakes for us are less dangerous than for Europe or Japan, as they won't cause extensive destruction or many victims. Well, we had powerful earthquakes in the central part of the Kurils in 2006 and 2007, with tsunamis. But who noticed them? No one died, because nobody lives there. Nothing was destroyed. We should keep our eyes open and not rush to evacuate the residents who live there. Our country is not simple in terms of resettling someone somewhere. Proper homes are necessary, warm clothing, etc. How can this easily be done?
How will the coastline change?
I don't have relevant data, but I think the landscape will become slightly lower. For instance, during the Shikotan earthquake of 1994 in the southern Kurils, it was a very powerful quake too, with a magnitude of 8.4. As a result, the island of Shikotan sank by 60 centimeters, never to rise. The landscape was changed. It looks like the same may have happened in Japan, but I don't have direct data now.
What else can be affected by the movement of plates in terms of global landscape?
Shifts in the plates in such cases may have been very significant, affecting large territories. If the shift is about 10 meters, the area affected on the surface will be thousands of square kilometers. The shift is very big. Territorially, it's where the earthquake has happened. Japan may sink a little while the continental plate rises.
How reasonable is it to build nuclear power plants in earthquake zones after such disaster?
There is no option. They don't have energy resources. As for us, we don't build nuclear power stations in seismic zones. They do.
Do you believe in such projects as GLONASS to help predict earthquakes more accurately?
Such technology is being worked on, but so far it's not available. Our GLONASS system inherits most of the features from GPS. GPS is used, with secondary support from satellites, and the information about the deformations of the surface is recorded. So far, though, it is hard to use for predictions.
Do you work together with your colleagues from abroad to predict such events? Was it the case with Japan?
We had a joint Russia-Japan project, but it was rather long ago, in the 1990s. We began to monitor Japan. We managed to detect some precursors then. As head of the centre tasked with coordinating the work in the country, we are not entitled to forecast earthquakes abroad. We have a lot of work domestically.
Thank you for your time.